Hello, it's Dr. Tony of Sort of Excellence Coaching, and I am here today to talk about decision making. This is near and dear to my heart because many people who come to me, you guys are brilliant. You've got a lot of good ideas, and now you're like, well, what do I do? Well, we make 35,000 decisions a day. 225 or so are just about what we're going to eat. So it's not just in your head that you are on the struggle bus. So let me know where you're listening from. Even if you're on a replay, I'd love to know where you are. And because I work with high performers, because I work with women who are oftentimes carrying the load of financial burden, the load of obligation, the load of a team that they're responsible for some outcome or result, they are just beat down. So we can quickly talk about how to make good decisions, okay? But what about all the consults I'm getting from women who are in abusive relationships? I'm not saying they come on and say it right away, but their job is abusing them. Their family is taking advantage of them financially, emotionally, spending time with them. Okay. Taking advantage of their kindness. Um, but the abuse that women are suffering under the hands of people who supposedly love and care about them goes to show you that it's not as simple as one, two, three, checklist. It's not that simple. If it was, we wouldn't be having this conversation, and most people wouldn't be coming to me to try to get a strategy or a plan to get on the heck out of there. So if you're struggling, if you're stuck, I want to talk to you a little bit about, a typical plan to make a good decision. All right. So let me see if I have some things here I can put up here so you can see. So number one, you're gonna evaluate the situation, but you need to be in a good environment. So many women are struggling because you're in an environment that's not conducive to thinking, calm, quiet, comfort, all the C's. Okay, so your environment isn't the best for making decisions. It's always something swirling. There's people always needing you. So evaluating it in a good environment for you in the right headspace is part of the problem. Number two, you need to step away and look at all sides and all of the alternatives. So many of you are projecting your feelings into the situation. Oh, well, this is what, oh my goodness, what is so and so going to think, say, do? So you're interjecting lots of other feelings when you haven't even gotten enough data, or you're asking, how do I choose between these two things? But there's four options. So, being objective and collecting the information that you need is part of the process. Next, I want you to think about your best solution and plan to go with it, okay? For you, not for them, not for how it's going to affect the team, how's it going to affect my, so and so person in my life. You guys tend to interject a bunch of information that has nothing to do with you. And I'm going to give you at the end, I'm going to give you a helper question or two so that you can make decisions much more smoothly, because you're going to have to do this more often than you think, obviously 35,000 times a day. And they're going to be more and more high stakes because you're getting to a point in your life where if we don't start making real progress on the things we care about, what do you think happens? What do you think happens? I deal with this all day long. I actually have a burnout program. If you want to get on the list, let me know. But burnout is the result of letting these things wear you down. You're in the wrong places, in the wrong spaces, in the wrong jobs with poor relationships. Your communication isn't the best. Your pay isn't the best. I could go on all day. So, communicating your decision is also part of the stress that comes with decision making, because you have all these people who you then have to say, I'm going to be letting you down. And we talked about the good girl myth, right? We talked about how difficult it is to carry everyone else's expectations of you into the room with you, into the decision making space, into that good environment that we wanted to create. Very difficult to do all of those things at the same time. So I'm asking you to put them on the outside of the room, come into the room alone, figure out what you want to be, what you want to do, and how you want to show up in the world. And then make sure you're evaluating all of your choices, not just the ones that pull you this way or that way in a quick Google search. We want to talk about the things that are going to be the essence of who you really are. And when I get to the question at the end, you will see what I mean. So, if you've ever planned a wedding, tell me how that felt. If you've ever planned a baby shower, a funeral, a family reunion, please tell me what event, even a company function, what event did you plan where you realized that decision fatigue is real? Yeah, exactly. So I can say yes to every single one of those. And I promise you, it doesn't get better with time. It gets better when you get better, when you make better decisions. So, decision fatigue. I'm going to tell you what causes decision fatigue besides the fact that there's so many of them in a day. One, chronic stress. Y'all have chronic stress and you wonder why you feel the way you do. You have decision fatigue because you're in fight or flight all day, struggling to recover in the evening and then get back on track again for a good day. So, what did a lot of people end up with during the pandemic, for example? It was languishing, this feeling of just not being fulfilled no matter what you do, not quite depression or maybe headed towards depression, but just kind of stuck in between. So you're chronic stress, you're languishing where you just have an absence of taking care of your mental health. I hear this all day long. You are dissatisfied, you're no longer engaged, you're just kind of apathetic, you don't enjoy what's going on around you. And then there's the burnout. So you have all these things happening to you that are creating a difficult, foggy experience as to why you're not just able to jump up and say, I know what I want to do. You might know, but it's very difficult to get up off that couch in the first place. So there's another thing that creeps in. Loneliness showed up when people started working hybrid and working from home. People actually do want to connect, believe it or not. Even if people drain you and get on your nerves, loneliness is a factor. And one HR specialist that I was discussing this with was saying, well, I always ask people, who has your back at work? Who do you connect with at work? Who could you call on if you needed help? And in your family, in your organizations that you love so much, who's got your back? Who's there for you, etc. And oftentimes people have a blank look on their face. So it's not all in your head that it's the struggle. It's not all in your head that you're feeling frazzled. And the signs that you have for decision fatigue is partially your poor concentration. You're just kind of like, man, if I could just get 5 seconds, and then you're realizing you need rest more than anything. But the signs are poor concentration. Number two, irritability. You're just like, every little thing triggers you. Procrastination. There's a million reasons for procrastination, but it is one of the signs that you have decision fatigue. You're impulsive. You're like, you know what? I don't care. Just give me whatever you got. I don't know. The first thing you grab is fine with me. It's not, but you're so over it. You're just like, well, I'll take my chances. Overwhelm is always going to follow all of this cluster of signs that I've mentioned. And on top of that, you're focused on the little things. How many times have you been focused on the wrong thing because you are tapped out, drained, frustrated, or frankly, you spend so much time doing things that really aren't high yield for you? So how do you improve it? Well, you have to pay better attention to your mental, physical, and spiritual health. You need to take some time to be mindful and regroup. What do you want? Who do you want to be? Right? And we need to figure out how to have a positive environment everywhere we go. We cannot carry all these burdens everywhere and then wonder why it's so hard to put them down. People often ask me, well, how can I unplug after work? That's a process. It's not just so simple as pulling the plug on your computer or turning off all your notifications. That may do you a small favor, but it's definitely not the reason you have so many people calling you. Okay. And your relationships. Part of that decision making tree is where you communicate what you decided you were going to do. The problem with that is you really don't want to disappoint people. You really don't want to let them down. And you definitely don't like to feel like you made a mistake. So you ruminate on the mistakes, you get busy to keep from having to make another move. And then you look up and you're very disappointed and you're ending up feeling stuck, feeling frustrated, feeling taken advantage of. A lot of people come to me very frustrated, angry, and resentful because it's been going on for quite some time. So I'm going to always say, take care of your health. And I'm always going to say, be safe in your choices, especially the people that you surround yourself with. But I want to make sure that you're communicating your needs and not just thinking people are going to be your psychic friend. Okay. Y'all are not communicating your real needs. So it's very difficult for anyone to meet them. You're not being completely authentic about what you want and what's important to you. So write this question down because you're going to need it. One question is, what went well? None of you are giving yourselves enough credit for the things that are going well in your life. So we need to have this gratitude piece where we at least give credit for what you've done right, what has gone well, where you are blessed. Do that and set it to the side because many of you can do that part. But what about the things that didn't go well? What do you really want? The exercise you need to do next is, where do I want to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 or 30 years? That will determine where your energy should go. And that will also determine how important it is to get it right. If you need help, call me. You need help, get on my schedule, because the burnout that follows, the disconnect that follows, the stress that follows all of these difficult decisions when you're making the wrong one or one that's not really authentic to you is where I'm getting calls. I have clients, I don't even want to say how old some of my clients are in terms of years of wisdom. But they've done that. They've tried to fit into boxes. They've tried to pacify other people, whether it's a husband, a spouse, a job, the expectations that are placed on them. They're taking on too much of things that just really don't fit anymore. Maybe they did, but they don't anymore. And now you've also got the stress of trying to figure out how to communicate in a way that feels good and makes you feel like you can move on and let go. So drtonymd.com/talk. This consult will help you if you're interested in getting into my burnout program. The application is there. But also, what is on your mind? What is keeping you from making that final choice? What is keeping you from putting your stake in the ground for the things you really want to do? I have heard every story. This lady was so smart. She had more PhDs than I can count. And we were talking and she was telling me all the things she wants to do. She was saying, I have a business that I've filed. I've got a tax ID number. I've got all these things in my head. It's all mapped out. I said, okay, so let's take the next step. And she's like, what? I can't do that. List of reasons why she can't do that. And I'm like, you'll feel it in 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, 5 years. You're going to feel it. So instead of putting off and procrastinating, which is also a sign of decision fatigue, put yourself first, put your needs first, and be able to articulate who you are and what you want by putting that attention where it really belongs, because you're the only one who can be responsible for you and make yourself happy. Not a spouse, not a family member, your children can't make you happy. And they are watching. Your children are watching everything you do. And if you say, no, let me defer that joy, you're deferring theirs too. So drtonymd.com/talk. I'm heading off to my burnout training. And I really hope that you will take advantage of the fact that I'm offering you a 45-minute breakthrough session so we can talk about where you are stuck. This is not something that I've always done, but it's something that I'm willing for you to experience now that you're starting to see what it happens when you do nothing. So take action. Talk soon. We'll see you next week.